The coffee in Michelle Jones's cup didn't just ripple, it shivered. MJ stared at the dark liquid, watching the concentric circles distort into chaotic, jagged waves, defying the vibration of the subway train rumbling beneath the Greenwich Village pavement. She wasn't on a subway. She was sitting in a perfectly stationary cafe on 4th Street, trying to finish a sociology paper on the societal normalization of trauma in a post-blip world. Another Tuesday, she whispered to herself, gripping the edge of the table as the porcelain rattled against the saucer. To anyone else, the sudden drop in atmospheric pressure might have signaled a storm. To MJ, who dated a boy who regularly climbed walls and fought geometric illusions, it signaled that the syllabus was about to be thrown out the window. She looked out the window. The sky wasn't gray, it wasn't blue. For a split second, the air above Manhattan shimmered with a terrifying, sickly violent gold, a color that didn't look like light, but like raw, screaming power. The multiverse wasn't breaking in the way Doctor Strange had warned about, with geometric fractals and collapsing realities. It wasn't the apocalyptic timeline chaos the TVA monitored. No, the fabric of Earth 616 was tearing open because somewhere in a dimension defined by screaming men and glowing hair, a warrior named Goku had sneezed mid-teleportation. 30,000 feet above the Chrysler Building, the laws of physics filed a formal noise complaint. The dimensional breach didn't sound like a tear. It sounded like a wet cosmic thwack, followed immediately by the collective scream of 7 individuals who had no business existing in a universe bound by standard thermodynamics. Kaharot. The scream echoed across the boroughs, shattering windows in Queens and setting off car alarms in the Bronx. 7 figures plummeted from the Golden Rift, streaking toward Midtown like fleshy meteors. They didn't tumble helplessly. They fell with the heavy kinetic density of neutron stars wrapped in martial arts GIs. Gravity on Earth 616 reached up and grabbed them, but even gravity seemed confused by their mass. They didn't displace air, they obliterated it. Sonic booms detonated in rapid succession, crack, 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 shaking the foundations of the Empire State Building and causing a flock of pigeons to simply give up on flying forever. Down on Fifth Avenue, Herman Schultz, known to the terrifyingly small circle of people who feared him as the Shocker, was having a career best day. He adjusted the frequency on his VibroShock gauntlets, watching with immense satisfaction as the reinforced steel of the bank vault vibrated, groaned, and then crumbled like wet cake. Civilians were huddled against the marble walls, terrified, silent, cooperative. Perfect. "See, this is professionalism," Herman muttered to himself, stepping over the debris. No speeches, no grandiose plans to turn the city into lizards. Just cash grab and go. He had disabled the silent alarm. He had a getaway van idling 3 blocks over with a driver who actually knew how to use a clutch. This was it. This was the heist that would finally graduate him from Spider-Man's punching bag to a respected member of the supervillain community. He could already feel the respect. He could visualize the new quilted suit he'd buy, maybe something with memory foam. Then the roof of the bank exploded. It wasn't a bomb. A bomb has a distinct chemical signature, a heat wave. This was purely kinetic. The ceiling didn't just collapse. It was erased by a column of golden light that slammed into the lobby floor with the force of a tactical nuke. Herman was thrown backward, his vibro gauntlet sparking. Dust, concrete, and pulverized marble filled the air, choking the screams of the hostages. As the dust settled, Herman leveled his gauntlet's heart, hammering against his ribs. Through the haze, a crater was visible, a perfect steaming bowl carved into the foundation of the building. Standing in the center of the crater was a man. He wore an orange jai that looked like it had been tailored by a blind monk, spiky black hair that defied gravity logic and wind resistance, and an expression of profound, empty-headed confusion. "Ow," the man said, blinking. He looked at his feet, then at the terrified bank tellers, then at Herman. "This isn't King Kai's planet." Before Herman could process this, a second figure slammed into the pavement outside, creating a secondary tremor that knocked the bank's front doors off their hinges. "You imbecile!" a voice shrieked, dripping with a rage so pure it felt radioactive. A shorter man with hair standing straight up like a vegetable brush marched through the hole in the wall wearing blue spandex and white armor. "You instant transmitted us to a completely different dimension, again." "It was an accident, Vegeta the Orange One," Goku replied, stepping out of the crater and patting the dust off his knees. "I sneezed, it tickled." "You sneezed us through the dimensional barrier." The short one, Vegeta, looked ready to stroke out. His hair flickered gold, lighting up the dim bank lobby with a strobe light effect that made Herman's eyes water. "We are stranded in a universe of weaklings because of your nasal incompetence." 5 more figures landed outside, turning Fifth Avenue into a disaster zone of craters and bewildered traffic. A tall green man landed with the weary resignation of a single father chaperoning a birthday party in hell. A young man with glasses landed in a combat crouch, immediately checking a smartphone. A bald man in robes rolled to a stop near a hot dog cart, looking frantically for threats. A 3-eyed man landed silently, arms crossed. And a man with long hair and scars on his face crashed directly into the hot dog cart, burying himself in sauerkraut and dirty water. "Goku," the green man Piccolo said, walking into the bank through the destroyed wall. He ignored Herman completely. "Where exactly are we?" Goku looked around the bank lobby. He looked at the shattered vault. He looked at the terrified civilians. His expression cycled through confusion, blankness, a brief flicker of what might have been a thought, and then settled on his factory-setting, hungry optimism. "I have no idea," Goku announced brightly, "but wow, these buildings are huge. Hey, do you think they have food here? I'm starving." Herman Schultz stood up. His career was flashing before his eyes. He was the Shocker. He had vibro gauntlets capable of shattering concrete, and these cosplayers were ignoring him. They were arguing about food in the middle of his heist. "Hey!" Herman yelled, charging his gauntlets until they whined like a jet engine. "Eyes on me! Freaks! I don't know what circus you dropped out of, but this is my bank. I'm the Shocker. I shock people. That's my thing." He aimed both gauntlets at the orange guy's chest. This was the moment. Establish dominance. Shoot the big dumb one, scare the rest, take the money. He pulled the triggers. A concentrated blast of vibro-shock energy, enough to derail a subway car or liquefy a normal human's ribcage, slammed into Goku's sternum. The impact boom shattered the remaining teller windows. Goku didn't move. He didn't flinch. He didn't even blink. The smoke cleared. Goku looked down at his chest, brushing a speck of soot off his orange guy. He looked up at Herman with genuine childlike curiosity. "Oh, hey," Goku laughed. "That tickled. Can you do that again? Maybe harder this time." Herman Schultz felt a cold sensation in his stomach that he recognized as the death of his ambition. 3 blocks away, Peter Parker swung through the concrete canyons of Manhattan feeling pretty good. He had finished his research paper on polymeric tension early, nailed a landing that would have made an Olympic gymnast weep, and was mentally debating whether to get Thai or pizza for dinner. Then his head exploded. It wasn't pain exactly. It was the spidey sense, but not the sharp, stinging danger warning he got when a goblin glider was aimed at his spine. This was a cacophony. It was a deafening, high-pitched metaphysical scream that sounded like the universe itself was scratching a chalkboard. It wasn't telling him duck, it was telling him wrong. It was screaming, does not compute. Peter pivoted mid-swing, firing a web line that snapped him around a corner with enough G-force to black out a pilot. He landed on the side of a building overlooking Fifth Avenue, clinging to the brickwork as his lenses zoomed in on the scene below. "What in the absolute?" Peter whispered. There was a crater in the middle of the street. There were 7 people standing in it, and the shocker was on his knees, looking like he was having a spiritual crisis. Peter's eyes darted from figure to figure, green skin, 3 eyes, hair that looked like it required industrial-grade gel, and the energy radiating off them. Even from here, without any mystic senses, Peter could feel the air humming. It felt heavy static charge, like standing next to a generator the size of a city. "Krillin don't kill the local criminals," the green one said. His voice carried effortlessly over the sirens wailing in the distance. The bald one, Krillin, was standing over Shocker. He tapped Herman on the forehead with a single finger. Herman's eyes rolled back in his head, and he slumped to the ground, out cold. "I didn't kill him," Piccolo, the bald one, protested. "I just gently encouraged unconsciousness." "Encouraged unconsciousness," Peter repeated to himself. "Okay, that's a new one. I need to use that." He watched as the one with the wildest hair, Goku, started sniffing the air like a bloodhound tracking a steak. "I smell," Pepperoni Goku shouted, "and unwashed spandex." Peter looked down at his suit. "Hey, I washed this yesterday." He realized he couldn't just sit here. These guys had walking natural disaster written all over them. The green guy seemed reasonable-ish. The angry short one looked like he was about to blow up the block just to silence the traffic noise. Peter took a deep breath. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man charm. Don't let them know you're terrified. He dropped from the wall, firing a web to lower himself gently into the center of the group. Hi," Peter said, his voice cracking slightly. "Welcome to New York. Please don't destroy it. We just finished repairing the scaffolding from the last alien invasion, and the insurance premiums are getting really ridiculous." 7 heads snapped toward him in unison. It was deeply unsettling. It was like being looked at by 7 predators who hadn't decided if you were a threat or a snack. "Oh, wow." Goku beamed, pointing at Peter. "You stick to walls. That's so cool. Hey, are you really strong? You feel kind of strong. Do you want to fight?" What?" No, Peter held up his hands. His spider sense was now a continuous dull roar. "Look, I don't know what universe you guys just dropped in from, and judging by the hair, I'm guessing it's one with really lenient gravity laws, but maybe we should talk before we start the traditional greeting through punching thing." Vegeta crossed his arms. The air around him shimmered with heat. "And why should we listen to someone who dresses like a children's party entertainer?" "Vegeta, be nice, the young one with glasses," Gohan said. He sounded tired. He sounded like Peter felt when he had to explain to Aunt May why he was coming home at 3 a.m. covered in slime. "We're clearly in an alternate universe. This person is trying to help." "I don't need help from Yes, you do, the green guy, Piccolo, interrupted. His voice was flat deep and brooked no argument. You're stranded in an unfamiliar dimension because Goku sneezed. We absolutely need help. Peter's brain snagged on that. Sneezed. Okay, Peter said slowly. So, quick recap. You're from another universe. You got here via nasal discharge, and now you're standing in Midtown Manhattan asking for food and fights. Conquer Goku tilted his head like a confused puppy. Why would we do that? We just want to find some food. Oh, and if there are any strong guys to fight, that would be awesome. He speaks for himself, Vegeta growled. I have no interest in this pathetic dimension's culinary offerings or its weakling warriors. You literally asked where the food was 30 seconds ago, Krillin muttered. That's different, Vegeta screamed, the veins in his forehead pulsing. Peter looked at Piccolo. They shared a look. It was the universal look of the designated adult in a room full of toddlers with nuclear launch codes. You green guy, Peter said. You seem reasonable. Piccolo, the Namekian, corrected. And you have no idea how low that bar is. In the distance, the thup, thup, thup of shield helicopters began to chop through the air. Sirens were converging from all directions. Peter glanced at his wrist. He tapped the emergency beacon on his web shooter, the one Tony Stark had installed for level 7 threats or higher. Okay, Peter said, stepping back slightly. Here's the deal. You guys are going to stay very calm. You're not going to vaporize anyone, and you're going to wait while I call people way more qualified than me to handle universe-hopping warriors who treat apocalypses like weekly events. Vegeta snorted. And what exactly makes you think you can stop us from doing whatever we want, insect? Peter's danger sense spiked, not the hit me sense, but the oh god, he's going to do something stupid sense. Vegeta, don't, Piccolo warned, his hand clamping onto the Saiyan's shoulder with the sound of a hydraulic press closing. I wasn't going to, Vegeta lied. You absolutely were going to, Piccolo countered. Peter's phone buzzed in his pocket. He risked a glance. It was a text from MJ. MJ, the news says meteors hit 5th Ave. You involved? Peter thumbed a reply behind his back while maintaining eye contact with the man who looked like he wanted to eat the sun. Peter, technically yes. Alien invasion, but weird, like anime weird. MJ, bring me back a souvenir, don't die. Peter looked up. The sky was filled with shield Quinjets. Iron Man suits piloted by AI, or Happy he couldn't tell, were descending in formation. The Avengers were assembling. And Goku was waving at the Iron Man suits. Wow, Goku shouted. Are those robots? Can they fight? Are they strong? Peter sighed, the weight of the multiverse pressing down on his spandex-clad shoulders. Tuesday, he muttered. Why is it always Tuesday? The whine of high-yield repulsor capacitors is a sound Peter Parker knows intimately. It usually means Tony Stark, or in this case, Happy Hogan piloting a drone suit, is about to blast something very expensive to save something very important. Currently, 3 Iron Man Mark 85 drones were hovering 20 feet off the deck palms, glowing with the blinding blue-white intensity of a welding torch, all aimed directly at the man in the orange GI who was treating a hostile standoff like a petting zoo. Kid, move, Happy's voice crackled through the suit's external speakers, laced with the specific panic of a man watching his insurance premiums flatline. Thermal scans are reading power signatures that they don't make sense. The numbers are just scrolling. It looks like a glitch. Happy "Don't fire," Peter yelled, web zipping between the drone and Goku. "They're not hostile. They're just really, really lost tourists with anger management issues. Tourists don't generate enough bioelectricity to power the eastern seaboard," Happy shouted back. "Stand down or—" Wow, Goku interrupted completely, ignoring the lethal weaponry pointed at his face. He floated up, no propulsion, just a casual rejection of gravity until he was nose to faceplate with the lead drone. "These are amazing. Is there a little man inside, or is it spirit energy?" Back away from the hardware, the drone barked. "I just want to see—" Goku reached out. He extended one index finger and poked the glowing repulsor node. It should have burned his finger off. Instead, there was a sound like a soda can being crushed under a tank tread. The suit's gauntlet crumpled. The indestructible gold titanium alloy folded inward. The repulsor lens shattered and the arm sparked violently before going dead limp. "Oops," Goku said, looking genuinely apologetic as the drone spiraled sideways, stabilizers failing. "I barely touched it. It's kinda squishy. Is it supposed to be squishy?" Happy's voice went up 2 octaves. He just deactivated $1 billion of Stark tech with his finger. "Kid, I'm authorizing lethal force." "No, no lethal force." Peter screamed, firing 2 web lines to catch the falling drone before it crushed the hot dog cart Yamcha was still extracting himself from. "Happy, if you shoot him, he might shoot back, and I have a feeling his version of shooting back involves removing the state of New York from the map." Ground level was no better. The shield perimeter had tightened. Black SUVs had formed a barricade, and agents in tactical gear were training energy weapons. Chitauri hybrids, nasty stuff on Vegeta. A shield commander, a woman who looked like she chewed gravel for breakfast, stepped forward with a megaphone. "Attention unidentified entities," she announced, her voice echoing off the cratered asphalt. "You are in violation of the Sokovia Accords regarding undocumented enhanced individuals operating on U.S. soil. You will surrender immediately for processing and containment." Goku floated back down, scratching his head. "Sokovia, is that a type of food? It sounds like a food, like a really fancy cheese." "It is not a cheese," the commander snapped, her eye twitching. "It is an international treaty. Register or be neutralized." Peter landed next to Gohan, who was frantically typing on his phone. "Please tell me you can de-escalate him," Peter whispered, nodding at Vegeta. "I can try," Gohan whispered back, adjusting his glasses. "But Dad asked about food, and Vegeta hates authority. This is literally the worst possible combination of triggers." Vegeta stepped forward. The air around him began to distort. Pebbles on the ground levitated. The windows of the remaining storefronts began to vibrate in sympathy with the low, thrumming growl emanating from his throat. Register, Vegeta laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. It was the sound of a tectonic plate shifting. "You command me. I am the prince of all Saiyans. I have conquered galaxies. I have stared down gods of destruction. And you think a piece of paper and some toy guns will make me submit?" "Vegeta, please," Gohan hissed. "We don't know the rules here." "The rules are simple." Boy Vegeta snarled, his hair flickering from black to gold. "The strong rule. The weak bow. And these insects are very, very weak." The shield agents tensed fingers on triggers. The Iron Man drones locked missiles. Vegeta raised a hand palm, glowing with a purple energy that Peter's spider sense identified as absolute death. Wait, Peter shouted, stepping in front of the shield line. Vegeta, don't. The sky tore open. It wasn't a sneeze this time. It was the sound of reality being unzipped. A circle of sparking orange fire materialized in the air, above Fifth Avenue, rotating with the precise geometric beauty of a mandala. The tension in the street snapped instantly, replaced by a different kind of pressure, the heavy, suffocating weight of ancient magic. Two figures descended from the portal. One was clad in the vibranium weave of the Black Panther, regal and silent. The other wore the cloak of levitation, his hands already weaving complex sigils of eldritch light. "Stand down," Dr. Strange commanded. He didn't shout. He didn't use a megaphone. He simply spoke, and his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once, resonating in the bones of everyone present. The SHIELD agents lowered their weapons, not because they wanted to, but because their arms suddenly felt very heavy. The Iron Man drones powered down their weapon systems as if commanded by a master code. Strange landed softly on the pavement, his eyes, one gray one, glowing with the sight of the Eye of Agamotto sweeping over the Zed fighters. He didn't look impressed. He looked horrified. "Fascinating," Strange murmured, walking toward Goku, as if approaching a leaking nuclear reactor. "You aren't a timeline variant. You aren't a dimensional echo. Your energy signatures. They don't possess the correct quantum spin for this reality. You shouldn't be able to exist here. You are a biological paradox." "Is that bad?" Krillin asked nervously from behind the hot dog cart. "It is catastrophic," Strange replied without looking at him. He stopped in front of Goku. "The membrane between realities is designed to be impenetrable. It withstands the pressure of infinite universes. How did you breach it?" Goku rubbed the back of his neck, laughing nervously. "Well, I was focusing on King Kai's planet, and I had this itch in my nose, and then I sneezed mid-transmission." Silence. Absolute, deafening silence descended on Fifth Avenue. Strange stared at Goku. T'Challa stared at Goku. Peter stared at Goku. Even Vegeta looked away, embarrassed. "You sneezed," Strange repeated, his voice flat. It was a really big sneeze Goku offered. Strange pinched the bridge of his nose, exhaling a breath that seemed to carry the exhaustion of 1,000 lifetimes. "The multiverse is monitored by entities of unimaginable power. It is held together by cosmic constants, and you punch a hole in it with a sneeze." "I guess I'm just that strong," Goku grinned. "That is not a compliment," Strange snapped. "You have created a stable bridge. Every second you stand here, your foreign energy is bleeding into our reality like ink in water. If you stay, you will destabilize the local physics of this dimension. Gravity could fail. Time could loop. The atomic bonds holding this city together could simply give up." Yamcha, finally free of the sauerkraut, raised a hand. "So on a scale of 1 to 10. 9.5, Strange said. "Impending reality collapse." "Can you send us back?" Gohan asked, looking at his phone. "My mom is going to be really mad if we're late for dinner. Like destroy the universe mad." "Chi-Chi's anger transcends dimensions," Piccolo confirmed solemnly. "I can try," Strange said, his hands moving to form a containment spell. "But I need to calculate the trajectory. Your universe operates on different laws. I need to take you to the Sanctum Sanctorum immediately. No fighting, no flying, and absolutely no sneezing." Vegeta stepped forward, his pride clearly chafing against the sorcerer's tone. "And if we refuse, I do not take orders from a man wearing a rug." Strange turned. The air temperature dropped 20 degrees. The shadows on the street lengthened and twisted, forming jagged shapes that reached towards the Saiyan prince. The eye of Agamotto opened fully, bathing the street in blinding green light. Then Strange said, his voice echoing with the sound of grinding stones, "I will trap you in the mirror dimension until the heat death of this universe. You may be strong warrior, but here in this city, I am the master of reality. Try me." Vegeta stared at Strange. Strange stared at Vegeta. Golden aura clashed against emerald magic. Peter held his breath. This was it. The fight that ended New York. Then Piccolo stepped between them. "We'll cooperate," the Namekian said firmly, placing a hand on Vegeta's chest before the prince could fire a blast. "We are lost. He is our guide. Stand down, Vegeta." Vegeta snarled, jerked his shoulder away from Piccolo, but powered down. "Fine, but only because I have no desire to rule over this concrete wasteland." Great Goku clapped his hands. The tension evaporated instantly. "So about that food. Can we get pizza on the way? I saw a sign for pizza. Is it good? Can I eat 10? Strange closed his eyes. He counted to 10. Peter could practically see the Sorcerer Supreme calculating whether it was easier to destroy them or feed them. "Fine," Strange whispered. "We will stop for pizza, but only because a hungry Saiyan is apparently a bigger threat to the timeline than Dormammu." "Yes," Goku punched the air. "I like you, Magic Man." Strange opened a portal, not to the Sanctum, but to a Joe's Pizza 3 blocks away. "Spider-Man," Strange said without looking back. "You made first contact. You're coming with us. I need someone to explain the socio-political implications of whatever this is to them while I do the math." Peter pointed at himself. "Doc, I have homework. I have a life. I have an aunt who thinks I'm at the library." "You are an Avenger," T'Challa said, placing a hand on Peter's shoulder. "And you speak their language." "What language, Japanese?" No, T'Challa smiled faintly. "Optimistic chaos." As the Z fighters filed through the portal, Goku asking if pepperoni was a vegetable, Peter pulled out his phone. His hands were shaking. "Peter heading to the Sanctum with the anime people. Dr. Strange is babysitting. We are getting pizza. MJ, bring me a slice, and don't let the green one adopt you." A new message popped up. Unknown number. Unknown. Did someone say pizza? I smell crossover potential. Also tell Vegeta I love his hairline. It's very aerodynamic. Peter stared at the screen. Who is this? Don't ask, Strange sighed, stepping through the portal. Just don't ask. Peter took one last look at the ruined bank, the confused S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and the crushed Iron Man drone. He sighed, shot a web line through the portal, and swung into the weirdest Tuesday of his life. The Sanctum Sanctorum was designed to be a fortress of solitude, a bastion against the dark forces of the multiverse, where silence was heavy enough to be weighed on a scale. Today, however, it smelled like pepperoni oregano and the distinct ozone tang of imminent catastrophe. Peter Parker sat on a floating mahogany staircase, clutching a slice of pizza that was already growing cold. He watched mesmerizingly horrified as the sanctity of Dr. Strange's home was dismantled by 7 people who treated magical artifacts like toys in a Happy Meal. "Wow, this place is amazing!" Goku's voice echoed off the vaulted ceiling. He was currently pressing his face against a containment field, holding a glowing, jagged scepter. "What does this one do? Can I touch it? It looks touchable." "Please, Strange," said his voice strained to the breaking point of human patience. Do not touch the wand of Watum. It can rewrite reality in a 5-mile radius. It is not a stick. It is a sentence. Cool, Goku beamed. So what happens if I... Goku, don't. Piccolo's arms stretched literally elongated like rubber across the room, snatching Goku's wrist inches from the glass. I wasn't going to. Goku lied. You absolutely were, Piccolo corrected, retracting his arm with a snap. Peter looked over at Wong, the librarian of Kamartaj, a man who had stared down demons and disciplined sorcerers, was currently sitting at his desk with his head resting on a stack of ancient grimoires. He looked like he was trying to telepathically summon a bottle of aspirin or perhaps a bottle of vodka. So Wong mumbled into the leather binding. Tuesday. Strange confirmed, massaging his temples. Are they going to destroy the Sanctum? Probably not intentionally, Strange said, floating a diagram of the multiverse into the air, which with them is somehow worse. In the corner, Vegeta was having a staring contest with a bust of Agamotto. The bust was losing. The Saiyan prince had crossed his arms so tightly, his biceps looked like they were trying to escape his skin, and he was radiating an aura of pure, unadulterated judgment. Books, Vegeta scoffed. Magic, tricks for weaklings who can't generate their own energy beams. Pathetic. It is the manipulation of the fundamental forces of creation. Strange retorted without looking up from his calculations. It's sparkly hand-waving, Vegeta corrected. I could vaporize this entire building with a sneeze. Ask Kakarot. He sneezes holes in dimensions. Peter felt a presence beside him. Gohan sat down on the floating step, adjusting his glasses. He looked normal. Or as normal as a guy in a purple jai could look while levitating. Sorry about them, Gohan said softly. My dad, he doesn't mean to be destructive. He just has a very simple worldview. Food fighting and being strong enough to protect people. And the angry one, Peter whispered. Vegeta. He's actually mellowed out a lot. You should have seen him 10 years ago. He tried to blow up the Earth because he was having a midlife crisis. Gohan took a bite of pizza. Now he just threatens to blow it up. It's progress. Peter looked at Gohan. He saw the scars on the guy's arms. He saw the way Gohan constantly scanned the room, noting exits, noting threats. He saw the heavy, tired set of his shoulders. You're the only adult in your group, aren't you? Peter asked. And you're not even the oldest. Piccolo helps Gohan smile the sad, knowing expression. But yeah, I'm the one who has to explain the physics of why we can't just punch the sun. Suddenly the Sanctum's alarm screamed. It wasn't the polite chime of a visitor. It was the level 5 reality breach siren, a sound that vibrated in your teeth. Red lights pulsed. The cloak of levitation slapped Strange across the face to get his attention. Breach Strange shouted, his hands instantly igniting with Tau mandalas. Someone is forcing their way through the wards. Everyone defensive positions. The Z fighters didn't hesitate. 1 second they were eating pizza. The next, they were a blur of motion. Goku dropped into a combat stance that felt heavy enough to crack the floor. Vegeta's hair flashed gold. Piccolo's cape swirled as he took point. Who is it? Peter yelled, pulling his mask down. Dormammu Kang Mephisto. It's worse, Strange groaned, looking at the mystic readings. It's sheer chaos. The front door didn't open. It exploded. Not from a bomb, but from a kick that sent mahogany shrapnel flying in slow motion, accompanied by a blast of confetti and mariachi music. Through the smoke strode a figure in red and black spandex katanas. crossed on his back, carrying a chimichanga in one hand and a smartphone in the other. Did someone order a crossover? Deadpool struck a pose, hip-cocked peace sign up. Holy plot twist, Batman! Deadpool screamed, his voice vibrating with a manic energy that made Goku look sedated. He pointed a gloved finger at the Z fighters. Are those? No way. No freaking way. Are those the Team 4-star versions? Is that actual abridged Goku? Silence. The Z fighters stared at him. The Avengers stared at him. Strange looked like he was considering opening a portal to the sun and jumping in. Goku tilted his head. Do I know you? Do you know me? Deadpool gasped, clutching his chest. He asks if he knows me. I'm the merc with a mouth, the regenerating degenerate. I'm the guy who knows that you're not just Goku. You're the Goku who thinks muffin button is a scientific term. The what button? Goku asked, eyes wide. Don't worry about it, Dad, Gohan said, quickly stepping forward. Sir, who are you? I'm Deadpool Wade. Wilson bounded forward, ignoring the energy blasts. Vegeta was charging. He wrapped an arm around a very confused Piccolo. And you, Big Green, the best dad in the universe. You kidnapped Gohan and threw him at a mountain, and it was beautiful parenting, 10 out of 10 on Yelp. Get off me, Piccolo growled, shoving Deadpool away. How do you know our history? Because I watched the show. Deadpool turned to empty air, addressing a camera that wasn't there. You guys see this, right? The meta-narrative is collapsing. We've got DBZ abridged characters in the MCU. The copyright lawyers are literally melting right now. It's glorious. Is he talking to a ghost? Krillin whispered to Peter. He talks to the audience, Peter whispered back, feeling a migraine coming on. He thinks he's in a movie or a comic book. Just ignore it. If you engage with the crazy, it sticks to you. Strange, Deadpool shouted, jumping onto the library table. You can't just leave them here. You gotta call the big guns. Where's Thor? Where's Rocket? I need to see the raccoon explain quantum physics to the guy who thinks a marriage is a type of food. I am this close to banishing you to the dark dimension. Strange hissed, his fingers sparking. Too late. Deadpool checked his phone. Because the plot demands escalation. Look outside. As if on cue, the sky rumbled. But this wasn't the localized thunder of a storm. It was the Bifrost. A rainbow bridge hammered into the pavement outside the Sanctum, shattering what little remained of the street. The front doors, already destroyed by Deadpool, offered a clear view as Thor Odinson strode through the smoke, flanked by a ragtag group of aliens who looked annoyed to be there. Strange Thor's voice boomed, shaking the dust from the rafters. I received your message of dimensional distress, and I brought the Guardians. They were in the neighborhood, mostly. We were 3 star systems away. A raccoon shouted, climbing up Thor's cape to sit on his shoulder. Quill just wanted to see the space karate guys. The Sanctum was now officially at capacity. You had Earth's mightiest heroes. You had the Guardians of the Galaxy. You had a dimension-displaced anime cast. And you had Deadpool eating a chimichanga on the Sorcerer Supreme's coffee table. Peter watched the interactions unfold like a car crash in slow motion. Thor walked straight up to Goku. The god of thunder towered over most men, but Goku stood eye to eye with him, radiating a dense, quiet strength that matched the Asgardian pound for pound. You, Thor said, studying Goku's hair. You carry yourself like a warrior, yet you smile like a child. An interesting contradiction. Goku held out a hand. I'm Goku. You feel really strong. Are you a god? You feel like a god, but different from Beerus. Less cat-like. I am Thor, son of Odin, god of thunder. Thor shook the hand. And your hair, is it natural? Yeah, Goku ran a hand through the spikes. Why is yours? Product. It is completely natural, Star-Lord yelled from the back. He uses product, I've seen the bottles. I am Groot, the tree creature added. See, even the tree knows. While the hair debate raged, Rocket Raccoon had cornered Krillin. The raccoon held a scanner up to Krillin's face, frowning at the readout. This makes no sense, Rocket muttered. Your biology is garbage. You're just a human. But your energy output is reading higher than a planetary fusion reactor. You shouldn't be exploding. You should be a pile of ash. It's Kai, Krillin explained nervously, eyeing the raccoon's heavy blaster. Life energy. We train to control it. Life energy, Rocket scoffed. Magic. It's always magic with you people. Can I verify that? Can I take apart your arm just a little bit? No, Krillin hid his arms behind his back. Across the room, Drax the Destroyer was staring at Vegeta. The two of them stood perfectly still, neither blinking, locked in a contest of pure masculine aggression. You, Drax rumbled, you have the eyes of a killer. And you, Vegeta replied, a smirk, curling his lip. Have the fashion sense of a stripper. But I sense you enjoy violence. I do enjoy violence, Drax nodded solemnly. Finally, Vegeta uncrossed his arms. Someone who speaks the language. Peter sat back on the stairs, overwhelmed. It was chaos. It was absurd. It was kind of nice. For a moment, the tension of the breach seemed to vanish under the sheer weight of camaraderie. Just a bunch of super-powered weirdos comparing notes. Then the mood broke. It didn't break because of a villain attack. It broke because Nick Fury walked into the room. The director of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't enter rooms. He occupied them. The air grew cold. The laughter died. Even Deadpool stopped chewing. Fury wore a long black trench coat and an expression that suggested he had personally fired God for incompetence. Party's over, Fury said. His single eye swept the room, cataloging every threat, every asset, every pizza box. Strange. Explain why the entire galactic community is currently lighting up my switchboard. Strange stepped forward, looking relieved to have an adult to talk to. The dimensional breach. It didn't just drop them here. It sent out a signal. A signal, Goku asked, mouth full. A dinner bell, Fury corrected. He threw a device onto the central table. A hologram sprang to life, a rotating projection of the solar system. Red dots were appearing at the edge of the system. Lots of them. We have 3 Kree battlecruisers entering the system. Fury recited, his voice flat and terrifying. We have a Shi'ar warbird decloaking near Jupiter, and we have reports of bounty hunters, scavengers, and cosmic predators changing course from 3 sectors away. The Z fighters went still. The playful energy vanished instantly, replaced by the sharp, focused pressure of soldiers entering a war zone. Why, Gohan asked, why are they coming? Because of you, Fury said, pointing a finger at Goku. Your anomalies, rare, powerful, dangerous. To the Collector, you're a prize. To the Kree, you're a weapon to be dissected. To the rest, you're a threat to be eliminated. Let them come, Vegeta growled, his aura flaring purple. I will turn their ships into dust. It's not just ships, Vegeta Rocket interrupted, looking at the data stream. These readings, this isn't a raiding party. This is an invasion force, and there's something else. Rocket zoomed in on a massive distorted signal moving faster than the others. A ship matching the energy signature of Thanos' rocket said quietly. The room froze. Peter felt the blood drain from his face. Thanos. The name was a curse. It was the sound of snapping fingers and half the universe turning to dust. Thanos is dead. Thor said, his grip on Stormbreaker tightening until the metal groaned. I took his head. This is the multiverse, Point Break, Deadpool whispered, abandoning his jokes. There's always another Thanos. Or worse, a Frieza. Frieza Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel asked, dropping down from the skylight she had apparently been hovering above. Who's Frieza? Vegeta's face went pale. Genuine fear, for the first time, flickered in his eyes. A tyrant, Vegeta whispered. A monster who destroys planets for real estate. If a variant of Frieza is coming here, if he has the power of this Thanos you speak of, then we aren't just looking at a fight. Goku said, his voice dropping an octave, losing all traces of humor. He looked at Peter, then at Gohan. We're looking at an extinction event. Peter looked at the hologram. The red dots were moving closer. The world outside the window was sunny, loud, and oblivious. But in here, the clock had just started ticking. So Peter said, his voice trembling just a little. Not a normal Tuesday. No Kid Fury said, racking around into a high-tech pistol. This is a crisis. The dawn that broke over Manhattan was deceptive. It was a watercolor painting of soft pinks and burnt oranges, the kind of morning that usually signaled a day of overpriced coffee and crowded parks. But to Peter Parker, sitting on the gargoyle of the Sanctum Sanctorum's roof, the sunrise felt like a timer counting down to zero. The sanctum itself was vibrating. It was a low-frequency thrum, a mix of arcane energy and high-voltage electricity that rattled Peter's teeth. Below him, the building had been transformed from a mystic museum into a trans-dimensional war room. Enjoying the view, Peter jumped, his mask lenses widening. Gohan floated down beside him, landing on the slate tiles without making a sound. The Demi-Saiyan looked tired, his purple GI slightly dusty from helping Strange calibrate the defensive wards. Just trying to remember what the city looks like intact, Peter admitted, pulling his knees to his chest. Before the space whales or the killer robots or whatever you guys bring to the table show up. We usually bring screaming and light shows, Gohan offered a small apologetic smile, but we try to keep the building standing, mostly. Your dad asked if he could eat a hot dog cart earlier, Peter noted. Not the hot dogs. The cart. He has a high metabolism. They sat in silence for a moment, two young men burdened with the crushing weight of their respective worlds. You know, Peter said quietly, Fury has us running simulations, best-case scenarios. In the best case, we lose 3 blocks of Midtown. That's optimistic, Gohan said, his gaze fixed on the horizon, where the SHIELD helicarrier was currently ascending to high orbit. In my universe, when threats like this show up, we don't count city blocks. We count craters. Frieza cell boo. They don't care about collateral damage. They treat planets like disposable tissues. And you fight them. We survive them. Gohan looked at Peter, and then we rebuild. That's the part nobody talks about, the rebuilding. Inside the sanctum, the atmosphere was less philosophical and more kinetic. Strange had expanded the main hall using non-Euclidean geometry, creating a tactical command center that defied architectural logic. Holographic displays floated in the air, projecting a terrifyingly crowded solar system. Nick Fury stood at the center, conducting the symphony of defense. Update on the Kree cruisers. Fury barked, not looking up from a datapad. Holding position past Mars, Maria Hill replied, her voice tight. They're waiting for something. Or someone. And the Shi'ar? Warbird, decloaked near Jupiter. T'Challa added, his fingers moving across a Wakandan interface. They are observing. Predatory curiosity. They want to see if Earth bleeds before they decide to bite. Great Rocket Raccoon muttered from atop a stack of ancient spellbooks. He was currently rewiring a Stark Industries drone with a screwdriver and a look of manic glee. We're the bait in a galactic nature documentary. Here we see the primitive Earthlings about to be pasteurized by superior firepower. Your optimism is inspiring, Rabbit, Vegeta scoffed. The Saiyan prince was leaning against a pillar watching the tactical display with the bored expression of a man who had conquered better planets before breakfast. I'm not a rabbit. Rocket snapped, leveling a plasma cannon he had just invented 5 seconds ago. I'm a genetically enhanced cybernetic organism with a penchant for heavy ordnance, and your planet's defenses are a joke. You have gaps in your orbital grid a blind Star-Lord could fly through. We know, Fury said, his single eye narrowing. Budget cuts. You have budget cuts on planetary survival, Rocket shrieked. We have politics, Captain America Sam Wilson interjected, stepping between the raccoon and the Saiyan, which is why we need you guys. Vegeta, you said you could handle the Kree. Handle them. Vegeta laughed, a short, sharp bark. I could dismantle their fleet with one hand while eating. They are insects. Their technology is stagnant. Their warriors are soft. Good Sam said, because we need you to hold the line while Strange figures out how to stop the other thing. Sam pointed to the third signal on the map. The mystery ship. It wasn't red like the Kree or yellow like the Shi'ar. It was pulsating with a color the sensors couldn't quite render, a void-like violet that seemed to eat the light around it. It's accelerating, Hill announced, her voice dropping an octave. It just passed Saturn. It's not using propulsion. It's skipping. Skipping, Goku asked, walking in from the kitchen with a stack of pancakes that defied physics. It's folding space, Strange said, stepping out of his meditation circle. He looked haggard. Sweat beaded on his forehead. It's not traveling through the universe. It's traveling across it, like a needle stitching through fabric. Is that bad? Goku took a bite of pancakes, unbothered. It means, Strange said gravely, that ship isn't from our dimension, and it's not from yours. It's from the space between. Oh, Goku swallowed. That sounds strong. Can I fight it? No, the entire room shouted in unison. You need to see this, Strange said. He waved a hand, and a massive portal opened in the center of the room. Not a doorway to travel through, but a window, a scrying glass. The image that formed was grainy, distorted by cosmic interference. It showed the interior of the mirror dimension. Inside the reflection, 2 figures were moving at speeds the human eye couldn't track. I put them in there to spar. Strange explained. Goku kept asking to test Captain Marvel's strength. I thought the mirror dimension would contain them. You thought wrong, Wong muttered. On the screen, the mirror dimension was disintegrating. Goku was a blur of golden light, his hair standing up in the classic Super Saiyan form. He wasn't attacking, he was laughing. He was darting around pillars of twisting reality, dodging photon blasts that vaporized the magical concrete instantly. Pursuing him, was Carol Danvers. She had gone binary. Her hair was a crown of cosmic fire, her eyes glowing white-hot. She wasn't holding back. She was unleashing energy blasts that would have cracked a moon. Your fast Carol's voice crackled through the magical link, distorted by the sheer volume of energy she was outputting. But can you take a hit? Try me, Goku shouted back. He stopped mid-air. He didn't block. He didn't dodge. He just braced himself. Carol slammed into him with the force of a relativistic meteor. The impact shockwave shattered the virtual skyscrapers for miles around. The mirror dimension fractured like a dropped windshield, spiderweb cracks of white void appearing in the sky. When the light cleared, Goku was still standing. He had caught Carol's fist in his open palm. The ground beneath him was gone, turned to dust, but he hadn't moved an inch. Wow, Goku grinned, steam rising from his GI. That actually stung. You're really strong, like Frieza, strong. Is that a compliment? Carol asked, pulling back and shaking her hand. In my book, it's the highest one there is. In the Sanctum, silence reigned. Scott Lang's jaw was unhinged. Did he just catch Captain Marvel? He caught a binary photon strike, Hope Van Dyne corrected, looking at her datapad with wide eyes. The kinetic energy alone should have liquefied his internal organs. His cellular density must be... Over 9,000 Deadpool chimed in from the ceiling, where he was currently hanging upside down, eating a bag of popcorn. Come on, say the line. The meme economy demands it. Ignore him, Fury said, though he looked visibly shaken. Strange, pull them out. If they break the mirror dimension from the inside, the feedback loop could crack the Sanctum's foundation. I'm trying. Strange grunted, his hands trembling as he wove the spell, but their combined energy output is disrupting the retrieval spell. They are literally too powerful to teleport. Peter Parker watched the screen, feeling a cold knot of inadequacy tighten in his stomach. He was Spider-Man. He could lift a bus. He had fought aliens. But this was God's playing tag. We're out of our league, Peter whispered to Sam. We usually are, kid. Sam replied, his eyes fixed on the screen. That's why we cheat. We use strategy. Strategy doesn't catch punches that can level mountains. No, Sam said, but friends do. Before the sentiment could land the Sanctum's main alarm, the one reserved for apocalyptic threats began to scream. It wasn't a siren. It was a physical sensation of dread that washed over everyone in the room. What is that? MJ asked from the corner, where she had refused to leave the secure bunker. Proximity alert, Hill shouted. The Violet ship. It's gone. Gone, Fury turned. Gone where cloaked. No, Strange said, his eyes snapping open wide with horror. Here! The air in the center of the Sanctum didn't tear. It bruised. A massive vertical slit of purple light appeared in the middle of the war room, bisecting the tactical map. It pulsed with a sound like a heartbeat, thump, 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 thump. It bypassed the orbital grid. T'Challa realized his helmet, forming instantly over his face. It bypassed the planetary shields. It bypassed reality, Strange corrected. Wong sealed the exits. Defensive formation Alpha. The Z fighters moved instantly. Goku and Carol materialized out of the mirror dimension. Strange had forced the ejection just in time and landed in combat stances. Vegeta vaulted over a table, energy flaring in his palms. Piccolo threw off his weighted cape, the heavy fabric cracking the floor tiles as it landed. Incoming, Rocket yelled, leveling a gun that looked larger than his entire body. The purple slit widened. It didn't look like a doorway. It looked like a wound in the universe. Through the wound stepped a figure. It wasn't an alien soldier. It wasn't a monster. It looked bureaucratic. The entity was tall, draped in robes that seemed to be woven from starlight and legal documents. Its face was a shifting geometric shape that eventually settled on a humanoid mask of pure, impassive gold. It held a staff that topped with a singularity a tiny, swirling black hole. It didn't walk. It simply adjusted its coordinates until it was standing in front of Fury. The pressure in the room skyrocketed. Peter felt gravity double. The weaker heroes Scott Rocket, Peter sagged to their knees. Only the heavy hitters remained standing, and even Thor looked like he was wading through molasses. Identify yourself, Fury choked out, fighting the crushing aura. The entity's voice didn't come from its mouth. It resonated directly in their skulls, bypassing the auditory nerve. It sounded like a choir of judges reading a death sentence. I am the Arbitrator. The voice echoed, vibrating the dust off the shelves. I serve the concordant of realities. You harbor anomalies. You harbor variants who have breached the sacred boundaries. The Arbitrator turned its golden face toward Goku. The singularity on its staff flared. Designation Son Goku. Designation Vegeta 4. Designation Piccolo. Your existence here is a violation of Section 7, Paragraph 9 of the Multiversal Treaty. The penalty is cessation. Cessation, Goku asked, struggling to stand upright against the pressure. Does that mean, like, a timeout? It means erasure, the Arbitrator intoned. You will be deleted from the narrative. You will be unwritten. Like hell they will, Vegeta snarled. He pushed through the gravity well, his pride acting as a counterforce to the cosmic pressure. I am not a typo to be corrected. I am a Saiyan. Vegeta fired. A blast of pure, concentrated energy, a big bang attack erupted from his palm, aimed point blank at the Arbitrator's face. The blast didn't hit. It didn't explode. The Arbitrator simply raised a hand, and the energy stopped. It didn't dissipate. It just ceased to have momentum. The purple ball of destruction hung in the air like a frozen ornament, then dissolved into mathematical equations that drifted away like smoke. Resistance is illogical, the Arbitrator stated. Your physics have no authority over me. I am the law. And I, a voice cracked from the corner, am the guy who knows this is all a bit derivative. Deadpool lunged. Somehow, Wade Wilson was immune to the gravity. Maybe his insanity acted as a shield. Maybe his plot armor was just that thick. He leaped off the balcony, katanas drawn, screaming a battle cry that referenced 3 different copyright-infringing franchises. He plunged his swords into the Arbitrator's robe. Take that, you cosmic bureaucrat, Deadpool yelled. Go back to the TVA or the monitors, or whoever signs your paycheck. The sword sparked. The Arbitrator looked down at Deadpool with the mild confusion of a human noticing a mosquito. Anomaly detected, the entity said. Meta-narrative instability, purging. The Arbitrator flicked a finger. Deadpool exploded. Not in a gory way, but into a cloud of confetti and comic book pages. He'll be back, Peter whispered, horrified. He always comes back. We don't have time for him to come back, Strange shouted. He stepped forward, the eye of Agamotto opening fully. Entity, you are in the Sanctum Sanctorum. By the Vishanti, I command you to halt. These beings are under my protection, pending repatriation. Your protection is irrelevant, the Arbitrator said. It raised its staff. The black hole at the tip began to spin. The anomalies must be purged. If this dimension resists, this dimension will be pruned. The walls of the sanctum began to peel away, not breaking unbecoming. The floor turned into wireframe grids. The air turned into static. "It's deleting us," Hope screamed, watching her hands flicker in and out of existence. Goku looked at Gohan. He looked at Vegeta. The playful spark in his eyes was gone, replaced by the cold, hard steel of the warrior who had stared down Frieza on a dying Namek. "Vegeta," Goku said quietly. "I know, Kakarot," Vegeta replied, his voice grim. "We can't hold back. If we don't go all out, everyone here dies." "We might break the planet," Vegeta warned. "Better the planet breaks than disappears," Goku said. The two Saiyans stepped forward side by side. They closed their eyes. The air began to scream. The floor tiles cracked, then pulverized, then atomized. A blue light deeper than the ocean and hotter than a star began to bleed from their skin. Strange Goku shouted, his voice echoing with a double tone, part human, part great ape. "Put up every shield you have. This is going to get loud." Strange didn't argue. He slammed his hands together, summoning the shields of the Seraphim, layering them with every ward in the library. "Everyone behind me," Strange roared, as the Arbitrator raised its staff to delete New York Goku, and Vegeta opened their eyes. They were no longer black. They were teal. The sanctum was consumed by blue fire. The light of Super Saiyan Blue was not a color. It was a frequency. It was the sound of a jet engine screaming inside a cathedral. When Goku and Vegeta released their combined energy, the Sanctum Sanctorum ceased to look like a building and started looking like an overexposed photograph. The blue fire washed over the furniture, the books, and the terrified heroes, passing through them harmlessly, because it was attuned solely to the destruction of the Arbitrator. But the pressure forced everyone to the floor. Final flash. Vegeta roared, his voice cracking with the strain of channeling God Ki. Hey, Goku's Kamehameha joined it, spiraling around the yellow beam to form a helix of destruction that defied every law of physics Earth 616 held dear. The twin beams slammed into the Arbitrator. For a microsecond, Peter Parker thought they had won. The sheer magnitude of the attack was enough to vaporize a moon. It was blinding, deafening, absolute. Then the Arbitrator raised one golden hand. The beams stopped. They didn't explode. They didn't deflect. They simply froze. The kinetic energy was arrested by a will that superseded thermodynamics. The Arbitrator held the combined power of two Saiyan gods in its palm like a toy ball. "Insufficient," the entity declared. "Your power is finite. My authority is absolute." The Arbitrator clenched its fist. The energy beams shattered into glass-like shards of light, raining down on the heroes. Goku and Vegeta were blasted backward, their blue auras flickering, gasping, as if the air had been sucked out of the room. Judgment is rendered. The Arbitrator raised its staff. Delete. The reality around the Z fighters began to pixelate. Goku looked at his hand. It was becoming transparent, turning into wireframe geometry. No, Gohan screamed, rushing forward, but he passed right through his father, Dad. Dr. Strange watched his heart hammering a frantic rhythm against his ribs. He had one play left, a play that would violate his oath as Sorcerer Supreme, a play that would break the natural order to save 7 men who didn't belong here. The irreversible step. Strange Piccolo shouted, his voice cutting through the chaos. He was standing near the back eyes narrowed, analyzing not the enemy's power, but its existence. The temporal loop extended to us. Strange looked at the Namekian. He understood instantly. It was madness, it was forbidden, it was brilliant. If I do this, Strange gritted out the eye of Agamotto, spinning wildly, I am anchoring a paradox into the foundation of this reality. I am breaking the timeline to save you. Do it, Piccolo roared, or we all cease to exist. Strange made his choice. He twisted his hand, shattering the invisible seal on a spell he had sworn never to use. By the hoary hosts of Hoggoth, I reject this reality. Strange screamed. I cast the anchor of Agamotto. Green light exploded from the Sorcerer Supreme, wrapping around the fading Z-fighters. It didn't heal them. It lied to the universe about them. It rewrote their temporal tags, screaming to the cosmos that Goku, Vegeta, and the rest had always been here, that they were native, that they belonged. The Arbitrator paused. Its staff lowered an inch. Error, the entity intoned. Temporal dissonance detected. Subjects are indigenous. It was a lie, a cosmic bluff, but it bought them a second. And in a battle of gods, a second was an eternity. Before the Arbitrator could recalibrate, the fabric of space tore open again. Not with a bruise, but with a golden surgical incision. A figure stepped through, perfect, golden-skinned, radiating a power that felt less like magic and more like inevitable evolution. Arbitrator, the new arrival, spoke. His voice was smooth, arrogant, and carried the weight of a civilization that considered itself the apex of life. You are in violation of sovereign space. Adam Warlock floated into the room, arms crossed, ignoring the chaos. I am the law, the Arbitrator stated. Not here, Adam countered coldly. The Sovereign Council has amended the Charter following the Infinity Saga. Earth is a protected protectorate. You did not file the paperwork. The Arbitrator hesitated. Bureaucracy, it seemed, was the one force stronger than erasure. Processing. Now Piccolo yelled. Its anchor is destabilized. Hit it with everything, all timelines, all angles. It wasn't a coordinated military strike. It was a desperate, chaotic brawl. Thor summoned lightning that was black with ozone. Captain Marvel went binary, again pouring cosmic fire into the entity's flank. Adam Warlock fired a quantum blast from his brow. And the Z-fighters, anchored by Strange's lie, pushed back against their own deletion. Special beam cannon Piccolo screamed. He didn't aim at the Arbitrator's body. He aimed at the space behind it, the dimensional tether that Strange's magic had exposed. The spiral beam drilled through the air. Destructo Disc, Krillin hurled a razor-sharp circle of energy. Solar flare Tien blinded the entity's cosmic senses. Wolf Fang Fist Yamcha. Well, Yamcha hit the Arbitrator's shin, but he hit it really hard. Gallic Gun Vegeta roared. Kamehameha Goku screamed. The attacks merged. Magic, science, cosmic power, and sovereign authority collided in a singular point of impact. The Arbitrator didn't explode. It shattered. Its golden mask cracked. Its robes unspooled into raw code. The entity let out a sound that wasn't a scream, but the sound of a hard drive crashing. Irregular, the Arbitrator glitched, its form flickering. Precedent violated, withdrawing to concordant for review. Yeah, you do that. Deadpool's head, which had rolled under a sofa, shouted, and tell the writers this crossover is over budget. The purple slit in reality snapped shut. The gravity normalized. The Arbitrator was gone. Goku collapsed, his blue hair fading back to black. Vegeta hit the floor on one knee, panting. The room was silent save for the crackling of cooling energy and the heavy breathing of 20 terrified heroes. "We did it," Peter whispered, pulling his mask off to wipe sweat from his eyes. "We actually beat it." Strange didn't celebrate. He slumped against the wand of Watum, his hands trembling violently. The eye of Agamotto was smoking. Strange Wong asked, rushing to his side, "The anchor spell, did you close it?" "I couldn't," Strange whispered, his face gray. "To keep them from being erased, I had to lock the paradox open. I had to fuse the breach." "What does that mean?" Fury demanded, stepping over a pile of rubble. "It means," Strange looked up, his eyes haunted, "that I just used the entire magical reserve of the Sanctum Sanctorum to lie to the universe." A deep, groaning sound came from the foundation of the building. The protective wards, the ancient shields that hid Earth from the predators of the dark cosmos, flickered. Then they died. The Shields Hill said, looking at her datapad in horror. The planetary stealth grid, the mystical barriers, they're down. All of them. "Down?" Sam Wilson asked. "For how long?" "Indefinitely," Strange said. "I burned the fuel to save the passengers." "So," Rocket Raccoon said into the silence, his ears flattening against his skull. "You're saying that big neon 'We Are Here' sign we were worried about just got upgraded to a billboard?" "Yes," Strange admitted, and those Kree cruisers sitting at the edge of the system rocket pointed at the tactical map. On the hologram, the red dots of the Kree fleet weren't holding position anymore. They were moving. Fast. And behind them, the massive yellow signal of the Shi'ar warbird was accelerating. "They see us," T'Challa said grimly. "We are naked to the galaxy." In the bunker deep beneath Manhattan, MJ felt the ground shudder. The lights flickered. She looked at Ned. "That wasn't an earthquake," she said. No, Ned whispered, looking at his phone where the live feed of the sky showed the artificial clouds of the global shield dissolving. That was the front door getting kicked open. Back in the sanctum, Vegeta stood up. He looked at Strange, then at the tactical map showing the invasion fleet burning hard for Earth. "You saved us," Vegeta said, his voice surprisingly quiet. "You sacrificed your world's defenses to save us." "I save lives," Strange said, straightening his cloak, though he looked ready to collapse. "That is the job." "Then let us do ours," Goku said, standing up. His gi was torn, his body bruised, but his eyes were burning with a fire that had nothing to do with transformations. "You protected us from the magic guy. Now let us protect you from the aliens." "You better be ready," Fury said, racking the slide of his gun again, "because the Kree aren't coming to arrest you anymore. With the shields down, they're coming to exterminate." "Good." Vegeta cracked his knuckles, a feral grin spreading across his face. "I was getting bored of holding back." The silence that followed the Arbitrator's departure was not peace. It was the vacuum before a thunderclap. In the Sanctum Sanctorum, the air still smelled of ozone and impossible magic, but the tactical map on the central table was painting a picture of absolute doom. The protective grid that had shrouded Earth for centuries, the metaphysical camouflage that made the planet look like a boring rock to passing predators, was gone. Earth was no longer a needle in a haystack. It was a flare in a dark room. "Contact Maria Hill," said her voice devoid of emotion. "Kree cruiser accusation has broken orbit. 2 escort destroyers in formation. They aren't hailing us." Why would they? Rocket Raccoon spat, racking the slide on a weapon that looked like it was stripped from a tank. "The door is wide open. They think we're helpless." "They are mistaken," Vegeta said. The Saiyan prince walked to the shattered window, his boots crunching on the glass of the mirror dimension. He looked up at the sky, where 3 new stars had appeared, burning, angry red stars that were growing larger by the second. Vegeta Goku said, joining him. He didn't look cheerful anymore. The goofiness was gone, replaced by the hard, angular focus of a man who had died twice to protect his home. We can't let them land. If they fight in the city. I know, Kakarot. Vegeta grunted. We break them in the sky. No Fury barked, stepping into the light. You stay here. Vegeta spun around, veins pulsing in his forehead. You dare order me while your planet is about to be glassed? I'm ordering you to be the ace in the hole. Fury corrected his single eye, locking with the Saiyan's glare. Carol and Thor are taking the first wave in orbit. The Guardians are running interference. But if the Kree are smart, and they are militaristic zealots, so they are smart, they'll send drop ships. They'll target population centers to split our focus. Fury pointed at the map of Manhattan. Piccolo, you're on ground command. You have the best tactical mind in the room. Piccolo nodded once, shedding his weighted cape with a heavy thud that cracked the floorboards. Understood. I'll coordinate the defense. Gohan Fury continued evacuation. Use your speed, get people underground. On it, Gohan said, already moving. Goku, Vegeta, Fury paused. You're the reserve. If a ship breaks the line, you turn it into scrap. Vegeta scoffed, but he didn't argue. He respected strategy, even from a human. In the secure bunker beneath the Avengers tower, MJ felt the first impact before she heard it. It vibrated through the soles of her sneakers, a deep, rhythmic thumping like a giant's heartbeat. The lights flickered. Dust drifted down from the reinforced concrete ceiling, coating her coffee cup in gray powder. That's not the subway, Ned whispered, clutching his laptop. No, MJ said, looking at the live feed on the wall. That's the sky falling. The screen showed the view from the tower's external cameras. The sky over New York wasn't blue anymore. It was choked with drop pods, hundreds of them raining down like black hail. They were sleek, angular, and trailed burning plasma. Oh God, someone in the crowd sobbed. MJ didn't sob. She gripped her phone tighter, watching the feed. She saw a flash of red and blue swing between the falling pods. Be safe, you idiot, she thought. Be safe. Eat laser, you blue-skinned fascists. Rocket Raccoon was having the time of his life. The Benatar corkscrewed through the upper atmosphere, dodging emerald lance beams from the Kree fighters. I am Groot, the teenage tree shouted from the gunner's seat. I know the stabilizers are offline. Just keep shooting, Rocket yelled back. In the vacuum above them, a war of gods was unfolding. Thor, Odinson, and Captain Marvel were a two-person blockade against the Kree capital ships. Thor was a hurricane of lightning swinging Stormbreaker, with enough force to shear the hull plating off the lead destroyer. Carol was a streak of pure photon energy punching through fighter squadrons like they were made of paper. They're swarming, Carol's voice crackled over the comms. I can't catch them all. Some are slipping through. One of the Kree destroyers, its engines flaming, rolled on its axis and jettisoned its cargo. Drop pods, thousands of them. Leakers, Sam Wilson shouted from the ground. We have leakers. Midtown is the target. Peter Parker landed on a rooftop in Hell's Kitchen, his lungs burning. Karen, target acquisition, he yelled. 17 hostiles incoming, his suit AI replied. Impact in 3-2. The roof of the adjacent building exploded. A Kree drop pod slammed through the water tower, unfurling like a metallic flower. to reveal a squad of accusers, elite soldiers in heavy armor wielding hammers that crackled with energy. "Surrender, Terax," the lead Kree shouted. Its Terran Peter corrected, firing a web grenade, and we're closed for renovations. The grenade hit the Kree's faceplate, but the soldier just ripped it off and charged. Peter braced for impact, but a blur of orange and blue slammed into the Kree squad. "Yamcha, yes, Yamcha," landed in a wolf stance. "Wolf Fang Fist Yamcha," screamed. Peter watched in disbelief as the guy who had been buried in sauerkraut yesterday unleashed a flurry of strikes so fast his hands disappeared. The Kree armor designed to withstand ballistic fire crumpled under the Kai-enhanced blows. The soldiers were sent flying across the roof. "Did you see that?" Yamcha yelled, looking back at Peter. "I did a thing. I was useful." "You were awesome," Peter shouted back. "Look out." A second pod landed behind Yamcha. Before Peter could move, a spiraling beam of energy drilled through the pod, detonating its engine core instantly. Piccolo floated above them, one finger extended, his cape billowing in the smoke. Les, celebrating the Namekian, ordered, his voice projecting over the roar of battle. "More fighting. Krillin Tien, secure the perimeter. Gohan, the South Quadrant is collapsing. Go." The Z fighters moved with a synchronization that made the Avengers look sloppy. They didn't need comms. They sensed each other's ki. They anticipated. It was a dance of destruction perfected over decades of saving their own world. But the Kree were relentless. For every pod destroyed, 3 more landed. On the bridge of the accusation, Commander Yondax watched the tactical display with growing horror. "Report," he screamed. "The ground assault is failing," his tactical officer stammered. "The resistance, it's illogical. We are detecting power levels that fluctuate wildly. That green one just destroyed a heavy tank with a look." "A look, Commander." Yondax slammed his fist onto the console. The mission was simple: extract the anomalies. But the anomalies were fighting back, and they were stronger than the intelligence reports, stronger than anything in the Kree database. "We cannot win a ground war," Yondax realized. "These beings, they are biological weapons." He looked at Earth. A blue marble vulnerable, stripped of its mystical shields. "If we cannot capture them," Yondax whispered, "we will burn them out." He turned to his weapons officer. "Load the Annihilator warheads. Antimatter payload. Target Manhattan. Full spread." "Sir," the officer hesitated. "That is a Class A war crime. The Galactic Council." "The Council isn't here," Yondax roared. "Fire!" Launch detected, Iron Man Happy Hogan in the drone screamed over the network. "Multiple launches from the lead cruiser. They're not drop pods, they're missiles." In the Sanctum, Strange stared at the map. "Antimatter," he whispered. 37 warheads. If they hit, New York is gone," Hill finished, "and half the East Coast." "Can you stop them?" Fury demanded. "The shields are down," Strange said, his voice hollow. "I can't conjure a barrier that big in time, not without the wards." On the streets below, the air pressure changed. It wasn't the sound of battle anymore. It was the sound of death incoming. Peter looked up. He saw the trails of fire high in the atmosphere. They were moving too fast, even for him. Karen Peter whispered, "Intercept probability." "0, the AI replied. Peter froze. He thought of MJ in the bunker. He thought of May. He thought of the promise he made to Gohan about saving who you can. "I can't save them," Peter realized. "I can't save anyone." High above the city, floating in the silence of the upper troposphere, Goku and Vegeta watched the death coming. 37 Vegeta counted his scouter, flashing rapidly. Antimatter, nasty stuff. Crude but effective. "We can't let them hit," Goku said. His voice was calm, unnaturally calm. "If we touch them," Vegeta warned, "the containment fields might fail. We could trigger the detonation manually." "Then we have to be gentle," Goku said. He turned to Vegeta and grinned. A real grin, fierce and wild. "Race you." Vegeta scoffed. "Loser buys dinner." Then they moved. To the people on the ground, it looked like two stars had decided to fall up. Two streaks of light, one orange, one purple, tore through the sky, shattering the sound barrier instantly. They didn't fly. They vanished from point A and appeared at point B. The first missile was over the Hudson River, seconds from impact. Goku appeared in front of it. He didn't blast it. He didn't punch it. He matched its speed, falling backward through the air, his hands glowing with a soft, cushioning layer of Kai. "Gotcha," Goku whispered. He grabbed the nose of the missile. Physics screamed. The missile, traveling at Mach 10, tried to push through him. The antimatter core destabilized. Goku roared, his muscles bulging as he physically forced the missile's trajectory to shift. He spun, swinging the multi-ton warhead like a hammer thrower, and hurled it back toward space. One, Goku shouted. Across the harbor, Vegeta wasn't being as gentle. He was flying alongside three missiles, weaving between them. Pathetic Vegeta snarled. He extended his hands, firing precise surgical beams of energy that didn't detonate the warheads, but severed their guidance fins. He grabbed two by the fuselage, ignoring the heat that melted his gloves, and kicked the third. "Go back to your masters," Vegeta roared, flinging them upward. For 10 seconds, the sky over New York became a chaotic dance of impossible acrobatics. Goku and Vegeta intercepted death with their bare hands. They caught missiles. They redirected them. They played catch with the end of the world. They're throwing them back," Sam Wilson said, watching through his binoculars from a rooftop. "They're literally throwing the nukes back into space." 36, Goku yelled, punting a warhead into the stratosphere. "Vegeta, I missed one. It's behind you." Vegeta spun. The last missile had slipped past. It was diving straight for the Sanctum Sanctorum. Vegeta didn't fly to it. He snapped his fingers. A focused blast of ki, a dirty, jagged beam, erupted from his hand, tagging the missile's thruster. It didn't blow up. It ricocheted. The missile spun wildly, tumbling end over end, and shot upward, chasing its brothers. High in orbit, Commander Yondax watched his sensors. "Sir," the weapons officer whispered, "the warheads. They're returning." "What?" "They're coming back. All of them." Yondax looked out the viewport. He saw 37 trails of fire racing up from the planet, converging on his formation. "Evasive maneuvers!" Yondax screamed. "Shields all power to." The silent void of space was lit by a second sun. 37 antimatter warheads detonated simultaneously in the middle of the Kree formation. It wasn't an explosion, it was an erasure. The lead cruiser, the Accusation, simply vanished in a sphere of white light. The escort ships were tumbled away like leaves in a hurricane. Their hulls slagged, their systems fried. The shockwave hit the atmosphere seconds later. On the ground, the windows of every building in Manhattan blew out. The sound was deafening, a crack that felt like the earth splitting open. MJ was thrown to the floor of the bunker as the lights died completely. "Peter," she whispered in the dark. Silence returned to New York. Then slowly, the cheering started. It started low in the streets, then rose a roar of relief and disbelief. Peter Parker stood on his rooftop, staring up at the two small figures floating against the fading light of the explosion. They were dusting off their hands. "They caught them," Peter said, his voice shaking. "They actually caught them." But as he looked around, he saw the broken glass. He saw the smoke rising from the drop pod craters. He felt the absence of the magical shield that used to protect his world. They had won the battle, but the secret was out. The shield was down. And everyone in the galaxy now knew exactly where the monsters lived. The dust over Manhattan didn't settle. It glittered. The atmosphere was choked with the particulate remains of 37 antimatter warheads and 3 Kree destroyers, creating a twilight that was dangerously radioactive but undeniably beautiful. To the citizens of New York emerging from subways and basements, it looked like snow. In the Sanctum Sanctorum, the mood was a cocktail of exhaustion and adrenaline. The adrenaline of surviving the impossible mixed with the crushing fatigue of knowing what it cost. Nick Fury stood on the balcony watching a Kree shuttle, white, sleek, and humiliatingly small compared to the warship it had launched from, descend toward the wreckage of Central Park. "They're surrendering," Fury said, not turning around. "Commander Yondax wants terms." "He wants to know how we did it," Strange corrected from the sofa, where he was currently receiving an IV drip of mystical saline from Wong. "He wants to know what kind of species catches nukes with their bare hands." "Let him wonder," Vegeta grunted. The Saiyan was leaning against a wall, arms crossed, looking bored. But Peter noticed the slight tremor in his hands. Even for a prince of all Saiyans, juggling antimatter was heavy lifting. Fear is a better deterrent than treaties. "Fear fades," T'Challa said, stepping up beside Fury. "Alliances endure. We must be careful, Director. We have won the battle, but we have lost our veil. The galaxy is watching." The meeting in Central Park was brief, tense, and historic. Fury, flanked by Captain Marvel and Captain America, met Commander Yondax on a patch of scorched grass. The Kree commander looked shaken. He kept glancing at the sky, as if expecting Goku to drop from the clouds and eat his shuttle. "We acknowledge Earth's sovereignty," Yondax said, handing over a datapad that contained the surrender codes for his remaining forces. "And we request clarification. The beings, the anomalies, are they standard planetary defense?" "They're the reserve team," Fury lied smoothly. "You don't want to meet the starters." Yondax paled. "We will withdraw. But be warned, Director Fury. The Shi'ar saw this. The Skrulls saw this. You are no longer a backwater. You are a player, and players get targeted." "Let them come," Carol said, her eyes still glowing faintly. "We'll be ready." As the Kree shuttle lifted off, retreating to the edge of the solar system, the reality of the situation settled over the heroes. They had won, but the Sanctum's wards were burnt out. The planetary stealth grid was gone. Earth was safe for today, but tomorrow was a different story. The next 36 hours were a blur of impossible physics and quiet moments. Dr. Strange had locked himself in the library. He was performing a magical calculus that would have melted a lesser sorcerer's brain. He wasn't just opening a door, he was threading a needle through 17 dimensions while blindfolded. "I need to fold the space-time manifold onto itself," Strange muttered to himself, floating amidst a sea of glowing equations. "If I miss the coordinates by a decimal point, they end up in a universe made entirely of shrimp. Or worse, the DC universe." "You're doing great," Stephen Wong said encouragingly, pouring another cup of tea. Try not to merge our reality with the dark dimension again. While Strange worked, the rest of the heroes did what soldiers do when the shooting stops. They swapped stories, they compared scars, and they tried to understand the strangers they had fought beside. In the training hall, which was currently open to the sky because the roof had been vaporized, Carol Danvers and Vegeta were circling each other. One more, Vegeta demanded, no energy blasts, hand-to-hand only. You're tired, Prince Carol said, wiping sweat from her forehead. You just bench-pressed a nuclear arsenal. I am never tired, Vegeta lied. He lunged. It was brutal. It was elegant. It was the clash of two warriors who defined themselves by their refusal to stay down. Vegeta was technique and rage. Carol was power and precision. They traded blows that shook the foundation, moving faster than the eye could track. Finally, Carol caught Vegeta's fist. She didn't crush it. She held it. You're strong, she admitted, letting him go. Legitimately strong. I've fought Accuser, Skrull, Super Soldiers, and Thanos. You're up there. Vegeta pulled his hand back, rubbing his wrist. He looked at her. Really looked at her not as an annoyance, but as a peer. Or a mortal who relies on external power. Vegeta grunted, looking away. You are adequate. Adequate, Carol laughed. I'll take it. Coming from you, that's practically a love letter. Don't push it, woman. Whatever helps you sleep at night, Vegeta. Across the compound in the wreckage of the laboratory, Rocket Raccoon was practically vibrating. He had cornered Gohan and Riri Williams' Ironheart. Okay, explain it again, Rocket said, holding a datapad that was recording everything. The Capsule Corp tech. You press a button and a car turns into a pill. Where does the mass go? Is it shunted to a pocket dimension? Is it PIM particles? It's dimensional compression, Gohan explained patiently for the 10th time. My mother, well, Bulma, she figured out how to fold matter into subspace pockets. It's actually pretty simple physics in our world. Simple physics, Rocket muttered, twitching. I'm the smartest mammal in the galaxy, and you're telling me your mom invented pocket dimension cars in her garage. I hate your universe. I want to go there. Can I go there? I'll behave. Mostly. Sorry, Gohan smiled. My mom can be intense. She'd probably try to adopt you or dissect you. Your mom sounds like a nightmare, Rocket said admiringly. I like her. In the kitchen, which was miraculously intact, Goku was engaged in his own form of diplomacy, an eating contest with Thor. Another Thor roared, slamming a plate down. These pancakes are worthy of Valhalla. They're so fluffy, Goku mumbled through a mouthful of syrup and dough. Hey, Thor, do you guys have muffin buttons here? I do not know of this button, Thor admitted, but we have shawarma. Shawarma, Goku's eyes lit up. Is that a transformation? It is a meat tornado, Thor said solemnly. Come, we shall feast before you depart. As the sun began to set on the final evening, Peter Parker found himself sitting on the edge of the Queensboro Bridge. He had his mask off, letting the cool wind hit his face. The city lights were flickering on a sea of diamonds that felt fragile in a way they never had before. Mind if I join you? Peter turned. Gohan hovered there, silhouetted against the purple sky. Free country, Peter said, scooting over, or free dimension, whatever. Gohan landed softly, his feet dangling over the edge. It's a nice view, quieter than West City. Is West City where you live? Yeah, it's loud. Flying cars, dinosaurs, constant explosions. Gohan chuckled. My dad usually causes the explosions. Peter looked at Gohan. They looked about the same age. Maybe Gohan was a few years older, but the look in his eyes, that ancient, heavy weariness, Peter recognized it. It was the look of someone who had buried too many friends. "Can I ask you something?" Peter said, picking at a loose thread on his suit. "Sure." "How do you do it? The balance. I mean, I'm struggling to pass physics and keep a girlfriend, and I just swing around Queens. You guys, you fight gods. You save the universe every other Tuesday, and you have a kid, a wife." Gohan sighed, leaning back on his hands. "Honestly, I don't balance it. I just survive it." "That's reassuring." "It's the truth." Gohan looked at Peter. "Look, my dad. He's a great warrior. Maybe the best. But he's not a normal person. He lives for the fight. I never wanted that. I wanted to be a scholar. I wanted to read books and eat dinner with my family." "But you fight," Peter noted. "Because I have to," Gohan said. "Because if I don't, there's no family left to eat dinner with." He turned to Peter, his expression intense. "You remind me of myself back when I was younger, trying to be everything, the hero, the student, the nephew. You think if you just try hard enough, you can save everyone." "Great power, great responsibility," Peter recited automatically. "Yeah," Gohan nodded. "But responsibility doesn't mean omnipotence, Peter. You can't save everyone. I learned that the hard way. I let my ego get in the way once with a monster named Cell. My dad died because of it." Peter winced. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. It taught me the most important lesson." Gohan placed a hand on Peter's shoulder. "Save who you can. Save them with everything you have. And when you can't, forgive yourself. Because if you carry every ghost, you'll be too heavy to fly." Peter sat with that for a long time. The wind howled through the suspension cables. "Save who you can," Peter whispered. It sounded less like a slogan and more like permission. Permission to be human. "Thanks, Gohan," Peter said, voice thick. I think I needed that." "Anytime, Spider-Man." Gohan pulled out his phone. "Hey, Strange said he might figure out cross-dimensional signal boosting. If he does, text me. I want to know if you pass physics." "Deal." Peter smiled. "And you tell me if your dad finds that muffin button." The party at the Sanctum that night was a weird, desperate, beautiful thing. It was the kind of party you throw when you know you might never see these people again. The Avengers and the Z-Fighters mingled a chaotic stew of superpowers and personalities. Deadpool had set up a karaoke machine in the library. "And I will always love you all." Wade screamed into the mic, pointing at Wolverine, who wasn't there, and then at Vegeta, who looked ready to kill him. "Make it stop," Bucky Barnes begged, covering his metal ear. "We can't," Sam Wilson sighed. "We tried shooting him. He just sang louder." In the corner, MJ was deep in conversation with Piccolo. So MJ said, notebook out. "You're an alien slugman who was born as a demon king, but then you raised your enemy's son in the wilderness, and now you're the designated driver for a group of gods." Summarized like that, it sounds ridiculous. Piccolo grunted, sipping water. "It sounds like a tragic backstory I can respect," MJ said. "I like you. You're grumpy. It feels authentic." Piccolo smirked. It was terrifying. Ned was hyperventilating near Goku. Can I get a selfie?" Ned asked, holding up his phone with shaking hands. "My entire childhood was watching you. I mean the show about you, which is apparently real. This is so meta." Sure, Goku grabbed Ned in a headlock that looked painful but was surprisingly gentle. "Say cheese." "Cheese," Ned squeaked. Across the room, Strange stood alone, watching them. He looked exhausted. His hands were shaking so bad he couldn't hold a glass, but he was smiling. "You did good," Stephen Wong said, appearing beside him. "I broke every rule in the book," Wong Strange whispered. "I burned out the planetary shields. I lied to the Arbitrator. I risked total universal collapse." And yet Wong gestured to the room. "New York is standing, the Kree are gone, and they are eating pizza." "It was a calculated risk," Strange admitted. "Calculated?" Wong raised an eyebrow. "You suck at math." "I do," Strange chuckled, "but they don't." He looked at the Z fighters. They were loud. They were chaotic. They were dangerous. But in the span of a few days they had proven something that Strange often forgot in his high tower of solitude. That power wasn't just about spells and shields. It was about heart. 36 hours. Strange checked his watch. "The spell is ready. Tomorrow at noon, we send them back." "The Sanctum will be quiet again," Wong noted. "Yes," Strange sighed, looking at Deadpool trying to get Vegeta to sing a duet. Thank God. But as he watched Goku laughing with Thor and Gohan showing Peter a picture of his daughter, Strange felt a pang of something he hadn't felt in a long time. He was going to miss the noise. The morning of the departure was crisp and clear. The sky was that piercing, impossible blue that only happens after a storm. The courtyard of the Sanctum had been cleared. Strange had drawn a circle of runes so complex that even looking at them gave Peter a headache. The Z fighters stood in the center. They wore the same clothes they arrived in, though Goku was clutching a stack of 7 pizza boxes he had somehow acquired. "This is it," Strange announced, his cloak billowing in the mystic wind. "The coordinates are locked. The bridge is stable. Step through and you will be returned to your exact point of origin. Hopefully, Krillin squeaked. "Dimensional travel is an art, not a science," Strange said. "Just don't sneeze." Gohan stepped forward. He looked at the Avengers, at the Guardians, at the kids from Queens. "Thank you," Gohan said, his voice clear. "You welcomed us when you could have imprisoned us. You trusted us. You showed us that this universe, it's in good hands." "We learned from you too," Sam Wilson said, "about second chances and catching nukes." "Mostly the nukes," Rocket added. "Seriously, that was cool." Vegeta scowled, but there was no heat in it. He looked at Carol. He looked at Thor. "You're all still weaklings," Vegeta announced. "But you are less pathetic than most. Do not die foolishly." "We'll try not to," Carol grinned. "Don't get soft, Prince." "Never." Strange raised his hands. The runes ignited. The air tore open, revealing not the chaotic void of the Arbitrator, but a glimpse of a green, peaceful landscape. The Chi of Universe 7 spilled through, feeling familiar and warm to the Z fighters. "Time to go." Goku cheered. He turned back one last time. "Hey, if you guys ever figure out how to visit, come over for dinner. Chi-Chi cooks way better than this pizza." Goku moved. Vegeta shoved him. One by one, they stepped through. Yamcha waved. Tien nodded. Krillin gave a thumbs up. Piccolo gave a salute. Gohan stopped at the threshold. He looked back at Peter. He tapped his temple, then pointed at Peter. "Save who you can." Peter nodded. "I will." Then Gohan stepped through. Vegeta was the last. He paused, looked at the destruction they had caused, then at the city they had saved. He humped, turned his back, and walked into the light. Strange clapped his hands. The portals snapped shut. The wind died. The hum of energy faded. They were gone. The courtyard was silent. Well, Deadpool said, breaking the mood instantly. That was fun. When's the sequel? Can we get Batman next time I have thoughts on his cowl? Wade Strange said, rubbing his eyes, please shut up. You got it, boss. Peter walked over to the spot where Gohan had vanished. The stone was still warm. He felt a hand in his. MJ. You okay? She asked. Yeah, Peter said, squeezing her hand. Just, the universe feels a little smaller now. It's not smaller, MJ said, leaning her head on his shoulder. It's just quiet. Come on, the city needs Spider-Man, and I need coffee. In that order. Depends on the coffee. They walked out of the Sanctum back into the city that was scarred, battered, and exposed, but alive. And somewhere in the infinite distance of the multiverse, a man in an orange guy sneezed. 3 months later, the silence in the Sanctum Sanctorum was still heavy enough to gather dust. Dr. Stephen Strange stood in the center of his library, staring at a holographic projection of Earth. It looked different now. To the naked eye, the blue marble was the same, swirling with clouds and oceans. But to the Sorcerer Supreme, it looked dangerously naked. The ancient wards that had shrouded the planet for millennia, the metaphysical camouflage that kept cosmic predators from noticing a backwater world full of infinity stones, were burnt out. They were the fuel he had spent to anchor the Z-fighters to reality. We are exposed, Stephen Wong said, walking into the room with a tea service. He didn't sound panicked anymore, just resigned. The Skrull Empire has already sent 3 diplomatic probes. The Nova Corps has updated our threat level to severe. We are no longer a secret. No, Strange admitted, waving his hand to dismiss the hologram. We are a target. He walked to his desk where a single glowing crystal lay on a velvet cushion. It hummed with a frequency that didn't belong in this universe, a chaotic, energetic vibration that tasted like orange key and ozone. Is that wise? Wong asked, eyeing the crystal. It's necessary, Strange said. He picked up the crystal, his fingers tingling. Inside were the dimensional coordinates of Universe 7, the exact mathematical address of a world where men caught antimatter missiles with their bare hands. We broke the seal, Wong. The galaxy knows we're here. The next time something like the Arbitrator comes, or something worse, we might need more than just Avengers. Strange placed the crystal into a heavy lead-lined box. He muttered a locking spell, sealing it away. We saved them, Strange whispered. Let's hope that if the day comes, they remember to save us. Deep in the vibrant, screamingly loud reality of Universe 7, the sky was a perfect, unpolluted teal. Son Goku sat on the edge of the lookout, his legs dangling over the white tiles, watching the clouds drift below. He was chewing on a blade of grass, looking unusually thoughtful. You're thinking about them, Piccolo said, meditating nearby. He didn't open his eyes. Yeah, Goku admitted. Those Avengers, they were cool. That guy with the shield, he had good spirit, and the Spider Kid, he reminded me of Gohan before the great Saiyan phase. They were weak, a voice grunted. Vegeta leaned against a pillar, arms crossed. Compared to us. Maybe Goku smiled, looking up at the sun. But they fought hard. They didn't have ki, they didn't have transformations. They just stood up. That's pretty strong, Vegeta. Vegeta humphed, turning his head away. But he didn't argue. He just watched the sky, perhaps wondering if somewhere across the infinite void, a woman with glowing fists was still training. Think we'll ever see them again? Goku asked. Unlikely, Piccolo said. Strange sealed the breach. The walls are up. Bummer, Goku sighed. Then his stomach growled loud enough to startle a bird. "Hey, lunch." On Earth 616, the sun was setting over Queens. Peter Parker sat on a fire escape nursing a bodega coffee that was arguably more sugar than bean water. He looked out over the city. It was healing. The craters in Midtown had been filled. The stark relief drones had rebuilt the facades. But Peter could feel the difference. The air felt thinner, sharper. The safety net was gone. A siren wailed in the distance. Peter's head tilted. "Duty calls," he whispered. He pulled his mask down, set the coffee aside, and vaulted over the railing. The wind rushed past his ears, a familiar, comforting roar. He fired a web line, swinging low between the brick tenements. Below him, a mugging was in progress. 3 guys cornering a tourist. Standard stuff. Peter dropped down, landing silently on a dumpster behind them. "Hey, guys," Peter quipped. "I don't mean to interrupt, but I think the 'give me your wallet' line is a little cliché. Can we workshop something fresher?" The thugs spun around. They saw the suit. They saw the eyes. "It's Spider-Man 1," yelled, dropping the knife. They ran. They didn't fight. They didn't argue. They just ran. Peter watched them go, firing a tracker onto the lead guy's jacket just in case. "Huh?" Peter said to himself. "Easy Tuesday." He swung back up to the roof, retrieving his phone. It buzzed against his palm. A text message. Peter froze. The number was wrong. It was too long. It had symbols that didn't exist on a standard keypad. He opened it. Sender Gohan U7. Message strange, figured out the interdimensional signal relay. Said something about quantum entanglement and owing me a favor. Just wanted to say hi. Dad accidentally challenged a god to a fight again. So normal. Hope you're passing physics. Peter stared at the screen. A laugh bubbled up in his chest, a real, genuine laugh that chased away the lingering dread of the last few months. He typed back, his thumbs flying. "Peter, physics is hard. Multiverse theory is harder. Glad you guys are okay. Earth is quiet, but we're ready." He hit send. He watched the message vanish into the ether, crossing boundaries that shouldn't be crossed, connecting 2 worlds that had no business touching. "Different universes," Peter whispered to the skyline. "Same problems." He put the phone away. He looked out at the city, his city. It was exposed. It was vulnerable. It was scarred. But it wasn't alone. Peter fired a web line, launching himself into the twilight. He wasn't just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man anymore. He was a friend to the cosmos. And if the aliens came back, if the Arbitrator returned, if the sky fell down again, well, he knew a guy who could catch it. "Just another Tuesday," Peter said, and swung into the night.